picture it back is I'm making a connection on the hot side with coolant. Now we've already made a connection on one side of it with this little T-fitting. What we're doing is splitting, bring coolant back, and the way we're doing it is by bypassing this little cutoff valve. Now the cutoff valve's purpose in factory is to keep coolant shut off from our heater core when you turn off the heat in the truck. By turning off the heat in the truck, you stop that flow, but we want the flow to be continuous back to our whole system, and the veggies feel a temperature regardless of what the temperature is inside the cab. So by bypassing it, we're able to do so. So we've got the supply side done. Now we need to go ahead and complete our connection. By doing so is tying in on the other side. And we'll put that T-connector in place again. We'll already run our line here. That'll go in there and plug it so we have a complete parallel system. Well, once we got that in place, we are about done underneath the hood except for making one electrical connection. That is our power source. And that's the last thing you need to do in this whole system. So it's going to be a while until we get to that. Got a lot of work to be done before we can get to hooking up the old power source.
Now up here inside the cab, we're just about done with everything we have to do inside the cab anyway. So we put the fascia back on, the kick plate, we got our switches in place right here. That's fine, everything's ready to go. We also put this gauge pod, it's like a little collar that slips right down there on the neck right there. And that slips in and gets secured in with a couple little push tabs. And this little hole right there, that's where this gauge is going to find its nice little home right there in a second. So these wires connect right down there to the electric module, and basically they just plug right onto the back. So you've got your ground, and you've got your power, and your fuel gauge, and it's also got a nice plug right there on the brown side right there. That's a dimmer switch. So when you turn the lights on and it's dark out, this thing's not going to be blinding you. So the guys really have thought of everything. So this will take me a couple of minutes to get dialed in, and we'll put that gauge in place, and then when we come back from break, we'll start working on the underside of the truck.
We started with over 1 billion colors, generously added more than 2 million liquid crystal pixels, combined 960 backlighting LEDs with 240 flawless scenes per second, made it 50% more energy efficient. And it all came down to one thing. The new 55-inch True LED from Vizio. Superior picture performance, superior price from America's #1 LCD HD TV company.
You don't drink every time you smoke. Yet, you smoke every time you drink. Drinking and smoking don't have to go together. Relearn life without cigarettes. Free at becomeanx.org. A new way to think about quitting.
Attention drivers statewide. What would it take to get you to switch to 21st Century Insurance? What if we told you you could save $300 a year? Start dialing, because you could save that much. People who switched from Allstate saved around $418. From Progressive, $430. Your savings could be higher, like this driver who switched. Or this one. Call 1-888-714-2121. That's 1-888-714-2121. Or visit 21st.com.
Every one of you is fighting for survival. It's my job to keep you alive. I will not succeed. Not with all of you. We got movement out there. Weapons free, weapons free.
Rated PG-13.
Welcome back to Truck U. Today we're installing this veggie stroke kit from the guys at Dino Fuel Alternatives. The guy that owns this truck is going to be thrilled when we're all done, because with the price of diesel these days, anything is going to help, right? This is going to be great. Now, we ran the wiring harnesses down here, and we went across this crossover right here where the transmission's all buttoned up right there. Now, we went on the back side of this, all right? That's a good idea, because if you go up into the front side, it's not as protected. You want to keep this nice and safe. You got a lot of wires going on. Another thing that we did is we tightened everything down nice and good, and we kept all the plastic from the wires and the zip ties that are holding it in place. We kept that as far away from the exhaust system as we possibly could. Now, on the back side here, here's where all the plugs, that's going to hook up to the V3 once that's all installed. Back over here on this side, there are two wires to the left. The left is green and black wire right there. Now, on the 7.3s, they've got a little different style setup. Actually, you would take this little ring right there, this little eye, and you'd hook that onto the stud that's in place. You take the wire that you pulled off of there and hook that up to this black wire, and you'd be all done. Now the 6.0 is a little bit different. That's where we're at right here on the stock fuel pump assembly. That's where all this is going on. So the 6.0 is you've got the power plug is the one up in the front. That's the gray plug. It's always the gray one. So you unplug that, and then you've got the pink power lead right there. That's what's going to tell the fuel pump to turn it on and off. So you snip that pink one. We've already made some connections here. What we're going to do is I'm going to snip that little eye off the green, and I'm going to put that onto the wire that's going into the plug, and this black wire that I've got, I'm going to hook that back into the other pink wire that's loose, that's going back in there into the fuel pump, and I'll basically crimp those, heat them up, and then I can take this gray plug and plug it back in, and we'll be all done right there. Now, there's a lot going on. Here's what's happening. All this information is being read by the brain up there in the cab of the truck. Once it sees that the fuel pressure from the vegetable oil is up to a certain point, it's going to cut off the power to the diesel fuel pump. Also, remember, when you turn this thing off, it's also going to tell the pump what to do. It's going to tell the diesel to kick back on and the vegetable one to pump back off. So, I'll tell you, a lot going on. So let me get this buttoned up, and we'll be one step closer to having this thing done.
Now that we're underneath the truck, we can show you guys how this whole thing comes together. Now, earlier I talked about making connections going to the back side of the engine portion of the fuel forward. That's what we did. We ran some lines to the back of the fuel rail with little plugs on there at factory location. You take them off. It's a little bit hard to make them efficient up there, but once you make the connection, it's pretty much all downhill. Tie them together with the T-fitting. You'll go with the dasket line off of this AN fitting, go into our V3, and it's simply labeled for you as fuel out.
Now the V3 is just about ready to be mounted, but you take a look at it, it's a heavy duty piece right here. It weighs a couple pounds, so you want to have a good bracket to hold it up. Well, that comes with the kit as well. We fasten that together, and that's ready to go up in place.
Now you notice real quickly here the rubber mounts, and those are critical because it'll help take some vibration out of this whole thing and save your fuel pump. Also save your ears because you won't be listening to this thing vibrate going down the road.
Right. Now, this mounts up to these factory bolts right here. Go on nicely. You see that catch? It's like cat-like reflex.
You got skills, I'm not going to kid you.
No,
At least you're good at something.
Thanks for the positive.
Always here
Get
for
this
you.
going. Here, let me lift this up for you. Just a little bit. You ready?
Yep.
All right. That'll hold it into place. So. Now, the key to the system and what makes it so unique is the fact that